designs. This is a live stream with live peoples, and also recorded for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'd made a little sketch, a little junk journal, quite a few years ago now, and I followed Jenny Belly, and I left the strings on the top to put beads when I finished, because I've not really done very much in here. But one of the pages that got me back into sketching was actually the second page. And I started to do a little bit of sketching with my Rotring Isograph pens. And I thought, I actually quite like this way of working. And I failed at Inktober. So I thought, if I made myself a sketchbook with some nice backgrounds. Thanks, little P. I normally have it in the middle. Is that better? Excuse me, I'm trying to get the volume right. So I quite like this idea. So this was made from a cornflakes box, a cereal box. And it has brown paper, glued both sides, the Jenny Belly way, and scrunched up. And then I used a Crawford's and black metallic paint. And these are from the works. And this one is the copper one, and this is the bronze. Well, I've got three. I've ended up with three almost full tubes of this. So that gave me the idea to make a junk sketchbook. And so this is the size of a large cereal box. And I've put on here to hold a thread through. I did 6. I was going to do every one, but I've decided to do 6. And I can still put beads on here afterwards. They're not attached to anything to these original strings. But what they do is they hold here between just over 2 seconds. Should be another one. So between three of them, there's 7 signatures. I picked a hole there and I put the thread through and then held by one of these fancy clasps through this hole. So that's holding this in. So it's basically 2 threads through here, and then the worst thing about this is the size. Attached to the bottom are some beads. So I have, if I start a fairly complicated drawing, I can move on. But what this did, it got me into my bead box. Oh, I have so many beads, but I can't throw anything away. And I've had these for years. But again, one of Jenny Belly's, I'd already had some in here, but not quite as organised. And Jenny Belly did a video, and it's a few years ago now. And these were all old buckled, old-fashioned wooden belts from the 70s. I think this one was actually a curtain bead. And so I've taken them all to bits, and they're gorgeous wood. Really pretty beads. I actually made these, I think it's from a willow. If you poke the centre out, you can get some wooden beads. Dry them out. This is another rather unusual necklace, but I would never have used it. I think this was a fancy bracelet I bought the girls. Oops. So really encouraged to go in. I mean, these look really pretty, these little beads. Some are still in their original state, ready to be chopped up. I've got some gorgeous greens. I used to go around charity shops and getting the proper, the really heavy beads. Plastic ones I don't bother so much, but wooden beads and really, really pretty beads. And this was a big black ugly necklace, but I loved some of the things. So it encouraged me to have a bit of a play in here. And I've got lots of greens. So I thought these look really pretty. If I do one for my daughter, most things are green because she likes green. Again, really big, chunky beads. But some of these are a few pounds each. So, hi Chris, welcome to Bunny's Design. Christy, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else that's passing? And again, really, really, really gorgeous beads. I think this was from a belt as well. So you can match them up. And there's something about, and this was a gorgeous bracelet which I loved, but it fell to bits. So I have some in here. And I actually think that this was on there. It's got very badly scratched now, but that was on that. I think that was the tail of it, and I loved it, so I put that onto here. And I did have this for a while on my Midori, but I love these beads. They're so pretty. I think that's actually probably enamel, I think. So old jewellery is fab for that. I've got about 3 or 4 of these boxes. And these huge silver ones, which are so out of fashion, but they make fab. Oops, metal. This is my metal pot. Really unusual things. That's from my dad's. I've got my dad's RAF one somewhere. I should have my dad's RAF badges. In fact, I want to have one of those. I want to have one of my dad's RAF badges. Gorgeous beads that are really expensive if you want to buy them. Again, something silver that's broke, but it's in here. This was the same one. There was so much on this huge, ugly necklace. And then odd bits of things I've had over the years. And I actually thought if I hadn't have lost the screw there, which is about somewhere, I could have used that as the clasp on my book, because I think there's a turn to it as well, but there's another box somewhere that's got bigger things in. So love little treasure boxes. And if you've got children, and I used to play in my grandmother's button box for hours when I was a kid. I do have a button box as well, but I won't get that out now because I wanted the white one. So I found these. There's a heart, and then I've used 2 of the white ones, but they're kind of really chunky. So that was the idea for that. And I'm going to buy some more of this lace and put an edging. I'm going to put an edging all the way around because it's a bit rough. Is that you can buy this, it's like a cotton. I nearly said the word and I forgot what it is. It's a cotton lace. And it's really nice. And I used to put that on my Laura Ashley. I used to make Laura Ashley hat boxes. So pretty wallpaper, and then this is an edging. It's very pretty. So I will put some beads on here when I've finished, and then those will just sit. They'll just sit here, and they hold the beads. So inside here, again, it's a little bit rough. I just put some masking tape down here just to give it a little bit of strength, because it's going to take quite a batting, is this it's going to be. So tea stain the first one and the second, and then I tea stained the back of the paper. The other side of the brown paper is quite shiny, so I've left that one, so I've got a big space for some sketching. And then I bronzed, and I don't think I like the bronze as much as the copper, but I bronzed 2 pages. One is the brown paper, and the other one is the paper liner. And then just did some random tea staining, just to take it from the white. That's the colour it should be. So it's not much. And then I've got a plain one here, and I put my little bit. It's a page thing. I can't remember what it's called. The brain's not working this morning. It's a bookmark. It's a bookmark. This was the really cheapy, nasty one, and again, it's still tea stained. It's still going to look okay. This is a sketchbook. This is a junk sketchbook. It's to get me sketching again. I've left a few plain, and then I quite liked the edge here, and that's plain, so that's quite nice. And then the last bit of it I've left plain, so I've got some ordinary brown, and then there's the shiny, so there's a bit of a difference. This is the really cheapy children's ones from IKEA, I think it was, or the very thin one. But again, because it's old, it's kind of got that aged look on it, so I've kind of liked that one. And again, I've just left these plain. I can tea stain them if I want, but I thought I would do so many. And I've got some plain ones here. Oh, and then, sorry, I tell a lie, they were the plain ones. So I left the middle few I've left plain. That's what I did. Yes, I'd forgotten. So these are all plain. And then where the tea stain was, because I did these after I made it. I didn't tea stain the pages first and then I made it. I decided to make it and then tea stain the pages. So the middle section is plain, and then I've done the reverse of what's on the other side. So we've got some more tea staining. We've got some tea staining and gold and a bronze. And again, sometimes it's gone over, but I've left it. In fact, I thought an edge might look quite nice with the sketch in the side. This is the pure white one, which I didn't like particularly, but it's got a backing to it. It's just to inspire me to, and then the last one is plain. And I've got 7 of those in here. So that's going to keep me going for a long time. And in each one of these, I've put, between each one, I've got 2 bookmarks, which I quite liked. And so I've got my sketching pens, and I'm really cross. I put them in such a safe place that I can't find them. I could even date them, actually. If I dated them, that would be good. And proper make myself sketch every day. I could do that. I can't really put a lot of pressure on myself, because I kind of go to pieces and then I don't get anything done at all. So I'm just really conscious of the fact I have lost a box full of these Rotring Isograph pens. And for the closure, I think what I'm going to do when I've edged it, I've got either a handbag clasp, or there's a new one that kind of just hooks over. So I might buy myself probably a brass one rather than a shiny one. I think, or a matte gold one might look quite nice. But I did buy a handbag clasp. It's a magnetic clasp. But that's for something that's kind of overlapping. now this is not overlapping, it's edge to edge, then I might have to do like a box clasp. I think probably that would look good. So love the way this has turned out, and it looks less junky than I thought it would. I thought it would look like a junk journal, but it doesn't. It looks really, really quite pretty. So I've had the idea. I'll make a video probably the next couple of weeks, but I must get this book done and send it off. I'm very conscious of the fact that I haven't finished my other book yet. But I'm going to make one. I'm going to make a steampunk one for my daughter at uni, because and I'm going to make a kind of a modern, bright, pastel colours, greens and pinks, because I've got those lovely beads for my daughter who's at Animal College, but of course she's the one that draws as well. So for Christmas, I think these will look quite good. They're obviously for when they're at home. Obviously, my daughter my other one can have this when she's at uni. But you're not going to carry this around. You know, I'm going to weigh it, but it is quite heavy. So I shall make. I'll make a video of how I did it from start to finish. But it's basically like Jenny Belly's sketchbook that she makes, a junk journal. But for a bit of junk, and if I say I've got lots of lace, I'm going to put some nice lace around the edge. That should look quite pretty. And hopefully it'll stand up to quite a lot of wear and tear. I just need to put a nice pretty edge around it to strengthen this edge. It won't be going too far because it's quite heavy. I don't think I can use this on my knee, because I have bad knees. But you know, if you were going away somewhere on holiday for a week, or to the caravan, or you could take this and sit and sketch, and you wouldn't probably need much more than this. And I've also thought it's about the size of the aviary book. Let's see. Get one out when I want. So all the other sketchbooks would stay in. So if you wanted your sketchbook and one other book, and the Colin Thompson book as well, that would fit in there. And because I've left quite a bit of space between, I mean, if you wanted, you could get a colour book in between. It's not going to do anything to the pages. So you could put a really nice band around, and you could take a couple of sketchbooks, your sketchbook, and a couple of colouring in books, and you wouldn't really need anything else. But it is quite rather large, and it's very heavy because of its what it is. But I'm hoping the girls will quite like that. I think I've just found my pens. Oopsie. No, I didn't. I found a pen set, but it's not that one. But that's basically, this is a Rotring set from college. That's what I had, one of these when I was at uni, and I think this is the one that's broken. Yep. He didn't bother to tell me that he'd broken that one. I never actually looked at all the others. There's a lot of ink in there. So this is what it looks like. So you could just take that set. It would probably sit in here quite happily. So you've got ink, enough ink to there to last you a year and almost. So that's all I do have a full set of these. I don't know where it is. And I'm very cross with that. But these are some nice colours. This is what normally happens when you tea stain. This is photocopy paper. And I had intended to do it like that, but this paper is, because it's paper liner, it's thicker. But I did test it all with the pen before I made the pages. So do test how you want, what paper you want to draw on before you make your book, because this is going to be, you know, a big book to fill if you didn't like it. Having said that, you could always turn it into a junk journal and just cover it in acrylics and stick things in it. I mean, there's a big 1/4 of an inch gap between each signature, so technically you could stick lots of things on lots of pages in here. So it depends what you want it for. But I wanted just to inspire myself to do a little bit of sketching. I do have a drawer here. I mean, this is what I would probably put on my other one. This is a Victorian book that is... oh, I might send some of these to Dee Dee. That's an idea. I was thinking of some nice things to send to her. These are tea stain. She likes her clocks, doesn't she? I was thinking of something nice to send. I couldn't think of anything else. I'm trying to fill a little thing. It's supposed to be a surprise, but I was supposed to send it months ago, but I didn't get anything from Star Trek convention. But I could send her some of these. Hope she'd like them, the boots. And it's a Victorian thingy, but it's you can use them commercially. So I could send her some of these, couldn't I? This is me, kind of. And I blew them up. If you have a photocopier, you see, you can blow things up and reduce things and do all sorts of things. That's how I made my pages. I made my pages with this. So I love tea staining. The only thing I don't have, this is my favourite size, is I don't have any A3 paper. I'd love to buy some A3 paper. So that's, I've had those for such a long time. So that gave me the idea to make all these pages in the books. It's sewing them together that's the time. So you could do all sorts in here. You didn't have to do it as a sketchbook if you didn't want. And you can make it into just a junk journal. This book lends itself to all sorts. But the fact that it's kind of quite chunky, it's quite a big book. I think it's 13.5 by 11, did we say? It's 11 3/4 by 13 3/4. So it's not a small book, although I call it my small book. But I think it's finished off by just putting a few beads on it. If you put beads on it now, it'd probably drive you insane. But when you've finished it and it's full, you could put beads on it and then sit it. But it would be a little bit uncomfortable. And the reason you make it like this is it's completely flat. And again, that's how much of an edge. And now I could put another hole in there and put another signature if I wanted to. Having said that, it would be twice the height. But I like the fact that I've got these huge pages, and they lie, I mean, I've got something in the way here, but they lay completely flat. Well, as flat as can be expected. If you did a watercolour, it would run off, but you wouldn't do a watercolour on this paper. But I just love the fact that everything is fairly flat. Has anybody got any questions? So morning to everybody. Oh, morning, the bookworm. Hope everybody's okay. And Suzanne. Morning, Suzanne. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. I'm just going through my little sketchbook, my junk sketchbook. I've got to call it a junk sketchbook because even these are kind of junky. Put myself in a knot there. But I just love the little beads that I've put in there. And I mean, you didn't have to use beads. There's got buttons. I've got 3 boxes of buttons in there. But again, every signature is almost identical. There's one that's just out, but I wasn't going to, because the page was short. But I decided, and the stitches here, they're not too tight. They're just tight enough. They'll tighten up, but I've got them on a loose thing at the top. So before you put your buttons in, last thing, you can tighten them up a little bit. But I think there's going to be enough there to get some quite good sketches in it. And as I say, I'm quite surprised how pretty it is. It's a lot prettier. It's not as grungy as this one I made before. It's not as grungy as this one. But there's certainly a lot of room in there. So just put it there for a second. So I was just going to show very quickly how... Oopsie. Well, it would be Suzanne. Sorry, it would be Mika. It would be too pretty to use. But the thing is, that's why I had the problem with my Moleskines. I bought one to do Inktober, and I can't use it. I have hundreds of pounds worth of pure watercolour paper, expensive, proper, top of the range watercolour paper, and I don't use it. Whereas I knew, because I was playing about in here, I knew that I don't mind, because this is wallpaper paper. This is just junk paper. And my favourite page is actually probably the third page, is the copper page here. And this is what's inspired me. I so love doing this. And I did that shelf yesterday. And the beauty of these pens, I'll put the other one now. Is, oops. You can just have a pen, and if I've got the different backgrounds, I can just carry on, and you can just, and this is what I wanted to test it for. So this is going to get me sketching, so that I can, when we do Art in the Abbey, I'm up to scratch, hopefully. So if I, oopsie, sorry, if I just zoom, oh, come off there, thank you. If I just zoom in a little bit, whoopsie, that's going to make you sick, sorry, whoopsie. Put Suji back. I do know that I like working like this. So that means I can kind of, I normally work with one line when I do this. So I need to be about up to there, and then across. And it's a doodle, but you just carry on doodling. That's not quite straight because I'm at a funny angle. I can get rid of that later. I must have put something on that one. And then I just kind of do this, and there's a book leaning that way. And there's another book behind it, next to it. And then you can do a little bit of cross-hatching and hatching, and then you can do some really, really short, fat books. And you just do this unusual doodle that just kind of keeps you occupied for an afternoon. But I thought if I started doing this, it would get me back into sketching again. And as I say, you can keep that quite dark if you want. Sometimes you've got to think, and I've just found one of my paintings which is outside, so I might bring that in and show you, and it's just a wall of books. That's all it is, it's a wall of books. And you just kind of start sketching. Oopsie, I've got all sorts of things on here now. I've done that. But I just thought, again, you see, this is hatching and cross hatching to create shadow. And then I had a doorway here on my original one. But you can just doodle anything you want. That was my first idea. And again, if there's a beveled mirror or a picture frame here, that picture frame would be behind there. And because, as I say, this is kind of, so size-wise, the mirrors were quite tall in Victorian times. And you can just keep taking this higher and higher and make it just all books if you want, or start another way. This is a doodle, so you sometimes have these beveled mirrors. And so you'd have the cat and you'd have the reflection behind it. And you can just keep kind of faffing about with this. And creating things. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to pick this pen up and start kind of, mind you, if you see the size of these books now, you see that we're in trouble now. So that's got to be quite dark now. And this pen will go on and on and on for weeks without it, probably a week. Unless you do some very, 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 very detailed drawing, but just line drawings, it will carry on for quite a long time. And now I'm really at the wrong angle for this, but again, and you can put little books or put tall books. And create lots of tiny spaces. But that's why I did the book, so I could sit here and, among other things, I can start, because my art needs, my pen skills needs to be back up. I haven't drawn for a long time, and you lose a little bit, so you've got to practice. So this is going to be my practice, so that and again, you see, I'm a bit scared to go in it, so I'm doing this one in here, so that I haven't started in this one yet. But I'm hopefully not going to be too scared. I do a little bit more of this, and when it kind of looks okay. So again, we've got this one, so we've got another shelf here. We've got some more thinner books. Maybe I should have done thinner books. And these are leaning this way as well. And especially in old books, in old bookcases, there are a lot that match. They have matching sets of books. So sometimes it's nice to do two the same. And then you can do an upright one. Then somebody's not friendly with him, so he's fallen out. You can do all sorts of things with these books. Hi Kangaroo Babe, welcome to Bunny's Designs. I'm just having a bit of a play in on one of the copper pages in my old book before I start in my new book. And again, there's a bit of cross hatching going on there. You do one line if you want it fairly, just a little bit lighter than, and you do cross hatching if it's darker, and then if it's very dark, you go across again. So there's 3 lines to do. So cross hatching, oh, there's a glare on that one. So cross hatching is, let me see that. Probably not. Do it with a bigger pen. So I shall take my sets of pens and my book. Let me see if I've got a slightly bigger pen. I'll be able to see with this one. So for cross hatching, we've got the line across. And then if you want it slightly darker, you do that. I'll do it on a thingy page. I do it on this page. So if you have a flower like this, so one can be plain, and then we've got one that's in shadow. It's a single line. And then if you have another one that's slightly darker, you can move the lines nearer, and that gives a darker effect. Or you can cross hatch them so you go at an angle. But you always do a cross one way and then another one. And then if you want it darker still, you can go that way, and then that way. And then if you want it darker still, you can go really in the dark shadows. You've got your cross hatching that way, then you've got that way, that makes you cross. You've got down, and then you've got across. And that will give you a very, very dark shadow space. So you can do some quite nice cross hatching. It is better with a very, very, very fine pen though. It's a lot better with a fine pen. Like the fireplace. Oopsie, let me just put this onto. You can see the fireplace. Is it going to? In the fireplace, it's got some quite nice hatching or cross hatching. It's not going to focus on that, so we'll have to kind of do it ourselves. You look on the fire, inside the fireplace, there's some really deep cross hatching right in the corner, going out to lines, and the same with under here. There's just a few lines, but right in the corner there's cross hatching, and then up and down as well, and across. So when you look at it from a distance, it looks like it's a natural shadow and then really dark shadow. And you get that in between here as well. Some places it's darker and lighter. And as you go up the bookshelf, the light gets better and better. And this one as well. So when you look at it from afar, just can't seem to, it looks quite natural. Just out of focus there a little bit. And that's what gives you the difference between bright light and dark. But it's a long time since I've done that, so I wanted to see how bad these are drawn compared to these. I'm out of practice, but it takes a while to get back into practice, but not too much. So again, I was thinking I could actually do some sketches in here before I go into this book. I'm just such a coward, even though it's made of junk paper. It takes a little time, but practice, practice, practice. That's why I wanted to do Inktober. Practice, practice. But I have been drawing for 50 years. I've been drawing a long time. And as I say, I'm so bad at the moment that, you know, I had to admit that I did my degree 5 years ago. So, you know, in theory, I should be able to draw. But I would think it's like skydiving. If you lose your nerve, you lose your nerve. So hopefully this sketchbook here, I've got some tea stains and some plain brown paper. And then I've got some bronze pages. They're not quite as nice. I think I prefer, let me just have a quick look at the copper one. Yeah, I think the copper is a little bit warmer. It's slightly warmer. But I have 3 pages of this, and again, I was trying to make use of it. And I think this paper is different to this paper. This seems to be, I don't know what kind of paper liner it is, but it just seems to be really nice. So I'm going to buy I'm going to buy the paper liner in the UK. I'm going to buy a 1,200, and I'm going to buy an 800, and I might even buy a 600. If they're £1 each, I will. If they're £2, I might just buy 2. And that will give me, I think that's what that is. Thank you, darling. It's a thicker one. This is the really thin one. This is the thicker one here. And then I had the white one, which I think was the kids' one, which I didn't like. But it's a bit of a background for a black line drawing. Thank you, Suzanne. Does that make you 6 months old? Yeah, and some people, you know, the more you do, some people, my daughter will sit while she's watching TV and sketch, and she comes out with the most beautiful things. But I thought I couldn't do it anymore because my hands were bad, so I have to practice. But again, I'm out of practice, so I'm sure when I have actually get my old art stuff, which I did have a bit of a dicky fit, and I burnt a lot of my art stuff because I was so depressed. My kids saved a lot of it, but it's buried in the back of the shed. So I'd probably feel a bit better if I got it out. But so that's what inspired me to make this book. It's turned out quite pretty. Or quite ornate, I think is the word. It's very kind of clean looking. It's not the rough and ready one that I thought it would. I mean, even these look really, really nice. It's turned out an awful lot better than I thought it would. But I think that's because it's the Laura Ashley wallpaper and the nice little lace trim. Even though it's just a cornflake box. But I'm hoping that it's going to get me back into drawing. As I say, I put some tape down, and that's why I put the ribbon on it, because I put some just masking tape, just to give it that little bit of, because I broke the seal on there, so you need to be a bit careful, because this is very heavy. Haven't weighed it yet. I'm going to take it upstairs. I'll ask hubby to weigh it for me. And again, that's the back, so I just put a little bit of sticky tape there. But I'm going to get some more of the frill and do the back as well, and then have a nice. This is probably going to end up like a ledger. It's probably not too big to be carried around. Again, I should have done that a little bit better. But I was making it out of kind of junk. Even the lace bits, it was old pieces of lace. But it looks so much nicer than I thought it would, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of a bit precious with it now. It's not like this one that I chuck about. But this is still one of my favourite things. And again, it stood up quite well. this is just covered in brown paper, whereas this one, because it's Laura Ashley paper, it's really, really good quality paper. So if you get some really good quality paper, the edges will take a bashing, so I'm going to get some more of this lace and put it right round the edge, a deep ribbon right round the edge. And again, ribbon is quite sturdy, and that's going to protect the edges. But I have to admit, it's turned out an awfully lot better than I thought. And I could have put more signatures in. These will, you can't put beads really on it if you want it to lie flat, because they'll get on your nerves. And these little trinkets here are holding these bookmarks in at the bottom. And again, it was good to go into the bead box. I showed the bead box earlier, and I'd forgotten. I've got about 7 bead boxes that my children have always been banned to. And then I found some really cheap and nasty looking. I intended to put these wooden baubles on, but then I found these really cheap, nasty cardboard letter cutouts, and I thought I quite like them because they're plain. And then I just used the bronze. This bronze stuff is almost as good as rubbing buff. It's fantastic stuff, have to say. But it's acrylic paint, so it's not nasty. Rubbing buff is quite nasty stuff, I think. And I just sat and kind of did it with my finger and stuck it on with glue. But that looks really pretty. And yet it was some really nasty cardboard things that were kicking about the bottom of my little box. I did use some nice linen thread, which again, this is about £7 or £8, which is a bit of a lot of money, but that won't break, which I didn't want to lose the beads. And I was having a good route in here. You see, I found these. I could put these on my daughter, scrunch them up, and a bit more of that lace that I think is really pretty. And I can't for the life of me think what it's called. Dorothy's not here. Dorothy would tell me what that's called. Can't think what it's called now. And I used crochet cotton. But I've got some of these gorgeous things to use in my daughter's. So I'll do a tutorial. I wasn't going to do a tutorial, but it actually was quicker. I made it yesterday while I was watching everybody the day before. So actually it was easier to make than I thought. And so the signatures they went in really quickly. So I might do one. I'm going to do a steampunk one for my daughter. Well, the idea was to use up the 3 rolls of paper liner, and actually I'm going to go buy some more. But I think if I do a steampunk one for my daughter at uni, who draws a lot, she'd love one. And she's always pinching my sketchbooks. And also my other daughter, who draws a lot as well. I think they just if I make them more personal, I think that will make a really good present for a couple of teenagers. Bless them. Rather than expensive things. I did give them a set of these pens because I taught them to draw in biro. Because I said, it's 95% looking and 5% drawing. And I said I would even take that to be 97. 97% of the time you look at something, you study it with your eyes, and 3% is putting the line down. And if you do that, you're gonna what the idea is to get the eye to the end of your finger with a paintbrush or the pencil or pen. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make what you see come out of here. And if you can do that, you've cracked it. But that's how I taught the girls. And they're better drawers than I am now. So I love this book, I have to say. It's just a bit big. So I'm going to probably make another one. I might make the girls this size, which is probably what we would call A5. It's the same size as the Colin Thompson book, the drawing books, because they could throw this. I mean, this has still got quite a few pages in it. They could throw this into their college bag. But I just like the idea of them sketching in a huge sketchbook because you could be quite free if you weren't me. And brown paper is really nice to sketch on as well, actually. So I think I'm going to do a steampunk covered one for my other daughter, and grungy. And I have some Tim Holtz papers that I haven't used, and the other one, she likes greens and teals and pastels, so I've got some nice green papers and things for her. It's just deciding. Well, it depends on what size cereal box I have. I'm going to go around the supermarket to find the chunkiest packaging I can to make a book. So, and the other thing is I've made a double one of this for tea staining. But the copper goes on quite well. But I put it on with a credit card. Well, not a credit card, a flat card. And I found it went on a lot easier and a lot better. It's a little bit too goldy, is that? But again, I'm using it up. I've got 3 tubes of this paint that I must have had at least 5 or 6 years, so it's not going to last forever. And I've still got enough to do a copper. There's gold, there's glitter. I've got all sorts of tubes of paint to use up. So I could possibly make 2 of these because I've got a whole roll of this wallpaper. So I could make 2 of these. One could be a junky thing, and the other one, but I haven't done anything in this one really. I've done doodles. But again, it's just junky paper, cheap children's acrylics, and poster paint. And this is acrylic, and it doesn't stick. That must be the gold one. That's a goldie. I have 2 tubes of the gold paint in that. Probably don't want it quite as junky as this one, if that makes sense. So I could make another one of those. And then, of course, you can cover it in whatever you want. There is a very good tutorial about making the book from Hocus Pocus. And, of course, they kind of grunge it all up and put the googly eye on and the snake. But I think I'm going to have to call this book. Book? So if I'm going to get the book out, this is the one. I've just made a bit of a mess of this, but of course the second one I make will be better, and this one was for me. And a clasp would be possibly good. And the other idea I thought, I found this. I'm going to do an index, like a bullet journal index, I think. I haven't decided. I thought I might do, but I might. And I thought I'd put a pocket there. So I could put a pocket there, and then I could put my little book of watercolours in there. I could put my drawing pens in there, and I could put a sketchbook. And then if I had this as well, if I was going to the seaside for a couple of weeks, then I could just take this with me. And that would make me work in it. If I took all my other supplies, then I'd be faffing about doing all sorts of other things. But if I just took this, it would make me work in it. Does that make sense? I don't know how to do the first page. Yeah, I'm probably going to start with books. Start with the bookshelf. Oh, talking of which, start with the bookshelf. But my books, I think it was 10 years ago when I started doing my books. May even be more when I started my bookshelves. So I've been drawing books and doodling bookshelves for a long time. Because I have rooms full of books. I couldn't possibly show you all my books. A few hundred cookery books and a few hundred art books. So I quite like that little book, and it's made out of rubbish. But I wanted to show it because it turned out, as I say, slightly better than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be a bit grungy and a bit rough. But it's a good size, and I love the fact that it lays flat. I can't stop opening it. So I've only tea stained one section. So tea stained and bronzed the first section, and then the middle is plain, and then the end of the signature is plain. So I thought that would give me enough pages to play on. And then if I didn't like this one, I can stain all the other white ones, because they're a little bit uglier, these, I have to say. Probably like that side better than that side, because as you see, it's different, slightly different. But again, that might look nice with a black line drawing through it. That's what my idea was anyway. So I've got a few tea stained. I just have to start drawing in it now. So thank you for watching. What time is it? 12:30. I can't stop fiddling with these beads either. I'd forgotten about all those beads I had, and buckles and things. So I'm finding all sorts of other things. I've been finding some of these large paper clips as well, and things that would go in here. Where was that other large one I found yesterday? This one, I've had this for years. I didn't know what to do with it. What on earth do you do with something that size? And then I thought, well, actually, it might go here. So if I wanted to keep a few pages together, I mean, it's going to stick out the top, but I'm not going to put this in my handbag and walk around with it. Again, that would tell me where I am if I'm working on something. Because I think you could get lost in this book. Pretty sure you could. Which is why in between each signature I've put between that one. In between each signature there's two. Sorry, there's one. There's one quite heavy bead, so that I might decide to do signatures in some of Art in the Abbey, some of Flower Doodles. You could use them like chapters. That might be an idea. Well, bye, little P. Thank you for stopping in. Just having a waffle. I'm going to put it away. I'm going to put it away now. So I'll do some sketching this afternoon, I think. That's given me the idea. Must write that down. What did I just say about different signatures? So we want signatures for different art subjects. Art in the Abbey, floral, and I said something else as well and I've forgotten. But that'll give them that idea. Right, so if I put that just inside there. Because I think if you're working on a small design, the way I work, it could take you a few hours to fill a page. So, so thanks for joining me and thanks for watching. As I say, it'll be probably about a week before I start my other one because I've got quite a few things to do this week. And I'm conscious that I've got some other books to make as well, but I just got the urge to make this. So actually, I better put it that way, haven't I? So thanks for watching.